Okay, so I'm going to be cutting the panel that I'm going to be inserting here to create the eyelet. So the first thing is for you to measure the length that you have here. I have exactly 8.5 inches. I'm going to subtract half inch from that. That's going to be 8 inches. So I'm going to cut out a fabric that measured 8 inches in length, and then the width is going to be 4 inches. So I'm just going to cut that out on my fabric, and I'm going to cut out 2. Okay, so I've cut that out. So you need to fold it into 2. You fold it into 2 like this. The first thing I'm going to do is to sew the upper part. Then you're going to stitch the down part again. So you stitch the upper part and also the bottom part with half inch allowance. So turn it to the good side like this. Then the next thing is for you to cut out bone. Then you cut out boning that is like 1/4 inch shorter than the length of this, like 1/4 or half inch shorter. You cut it out. So you're just going to insert it in between it this way. You insert it inside like this. Then you're going to make your stitch and stitch it down, you know, so that the bone will not come and be moving anyhow from inside this. That will prevent the bone from moving around. When you are sewing, be careful so that you don't sew on your bone. You know, this is plastic bone. It's going to break your needle if you mistakenly sew on it. So can you see? This is it. This is ready. You repeat the same thing to the second side, which I have done here. So this is the back. This is one side of the back. You can see my zip allowance notching here. This is the bottom part and this is the upper part. So the next thing now is for you to insert this in between your dart line. So what you need to do, just locate half inch below the starting point here. This is the beginning of the fabric. Measure half inch down, and then you place this at exactly half inch away from here. Exactly half inch away from that point. Can you see? Like this. Then you place this way, the way I'm showing you, so that you can sew in your dart, and this will be in between the darts. Okay, so you're going to sew your dart with half inch. Can you see? So it's going to be like this. So I'm done making my stitch, and this is how it's looking. Can you see? If you don't have eyelets, if you don't have eyelets, you can just, let me bring the other side of the panel. Let me bring the other side of the back. This is the other side, okay? This is the other side of the back. You know, we are going to be creating eyelets on this piece that I stitched in between. You can see from the wrong side, this is how it's looking from. So from the wrong side, this is how it's looking. From the good side, this is it. So we have sewn in this piece that we're going to be attaching our eyelet in between the back, the dart line of the back. Okay. So the next thing you have to do now is to create your bone channel for this. You can place your bone channel anywhere you like around here. Okay, but then if you don't want to use eyelet, or probably you don't have eyelet, or you don't have access to eyelet, you can also create loop. You don't necessarily need to put eyelet if you don't have. I've cut out this is optional. I'm just going to quickly teach you how you can do it. If you don't have eyelet, just cut a piece of fabric that measure 1.5 inch in width, and then the length depends on the number of loop you want to create at the back. So I'm just going to fold it like this. You fold it in the way I'm showing you here, and then you are going to make a stitch so that you can use it to create a loop. So you are going to cut it so that you can use it to create loop. Use this one now. You may not see it very well. Let me use lining to contrast it so that you can see it very well. So let's use this to create the loop. I believe this is going to contrast it. Okay, so now I will measure 2.5 inches like I said, and just cut it. So from the beginning of the fabric, you leave a space of 1/2 inch like this, and then you're going to fold this into 2 like this. See the way I've folded it into 2, and then you're going to place the raw edge like this on top of your line, and then you're going to stitch on it. That's how you're going to continue. I'm going to turn my machine dial to 5 because I'm still going to be losing this because I don't want to loop. So you just stitch on it this way. Then you leave the interval you want, the distance in between them. It can be 1 inch. Just fold it into 2 and place on it. You ensure you leave about 1/2 or 1 inch above the hemline. Okay, so once you're done like this, you're going to now place the other side on top of it this way like this, and then you're going to stitch here close with 1/2 inch allowance. This can be done on your bustier dress as well. It must not necessarily be corset. Okay, you can have this on your bustier. So this is how it's going to look. Okay, so the next thing you have to do now is just for you to push this towards here, and then you are going to top stitch. You top stitch. And this is how it's going to look. You know, by the time you do it to the other side, you already create loop here, which you can use to lace your bustier dress at the back or your corset at the back, and we also still have your zip in place. Okay, so this is how it's going to look. So I'll go ahead now. I'll loosen this so that I can continue with the tutorial. Looking, so you have created this panel, which you're going to be using to create your highlights later on. Okay, so this is how it's looking. So I'll go ahead now. I'll create my boning channel so that I can insert bone to the back. You can have as much as bone channel as you desired. So I'm going to have 1 in here. I'll have 1 here. I'm done using my bias to create my boning channel, and this is what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to keep this aside, and I'll work on the yoke. So this is my yoke. This is 2 pieces. This is another 2 pieces. So because it's folded into 4, we have 4 pieces, so in for each of them. So the next thing you have to do now is to create your button loop. You need to add button loop here. So I'm going to be using my bias to create my button loop. So I'll just fold my bias into 2 like this, and I'll stitch on it so I can use it to create button loop here. I'm going to be having 3 buttons here, so I'll create 3 button loops using my bias. Okay. So the length of each will be 2 inches, so I'll make it 2 inches, and I'll cut 3. So I'm going to be placing it like this. So I'll place it like this, and I'm going to measure ½ inch away from the neckline and place it right on top this way. Can you see? The second one. Then the last one. So this is it. So the next thing now is to place their lining. Place the corresponding lining on top of it, like this. Then you're going to stitch through the neckline. When you get to this point, you turn, you sew across here, then all over this opening, and you stop here. Okay, you sew from the neckline all the way to this point here, and also here, and then you stop right here. Okay, do the same thing to this one, starting from the neckline here like this, all around to this point, and then back to this point, and then you turn it to the good side and you press it, you iron it. Okay, so let's start from this. So we are done making our stitch. So the next thing for you now is for you to notch it all around the cuff through to the neckline. Then you're going to turn it to the good side, and you take to your table and press it very well. This is it. The yoke is all ready, so you go ahead, you place 3 buttons here. So you go ahead, you tack your buttons right here. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach the yoke to the bodice. Okay, you're going to be attaching the yoke to the bodice. So you place it together. If you remember, we notch where we want the yoke. I would notch this point so that, you know, if you remember, we notch where the yoke will be connected at this point, and the notching is still right there. So you're starting from there. Just place your yoke on top of it like this, right side to right side, and then you're going to stitch it all the way to wherever it stops here. The other side as well. Place them on top of each other, starting from where you can find your notch here towards this side seam. Then you're going to join together with ½ inch. You stop wherever it stops here as well. You see, this is how it's looking. So the next thing now is to turn this upper part with your lining. I'll quickly sew in my dart on my lining before I proceed. So the next thing now is for you to turn it with your lining. So you place the corresponding lining right on top of it this way. Then you're going to stitch here together. You stitch here together. You also do the same thing to the second side. Okay. So if you turn it to the good side, this is how it's looking. Can you see? So the next thing you have to do now before you proceed is for you to insert your bone inside the boning channel. Just insert your bone inside the channel. Make sure your bone did not get to your seam allowance at the lower part, because you know you're still going to be attaching this to the bottom part of the gown. So you leave your space. Okay, so this is the down part. You place them on top of each other so that you can close it at the zipper side. Measure 9 inches downward. Then you are going to close it with 1.5 inch all the way down to where you want your slit to start from. I'll measure 22 inches upward this way, and that is where my slit is going to start from. So at this point also I'll measure 1.5 inch inward because my zip allowance is 1.5. So I'm going to close from here all the way to this point using 1.5 inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead, I'll do that on the machine. Can you see? So the next thing you're going to do now is to attach the upper part to it so that you can be able to fix your zipper. So this is one side of the upper part, and then this is the second side. You're going to flip the line. You know, we already attached the lining of the upper part, so just flip the lining away like this so that you can attach fabric to fabric like this. Okay, so here also flip the lining out of the way and attach. We'll also attach, you take this away now. When you're done attaching it, you also attach the lining to lining. This is one side of the lining. This is the second side also. You also, when you're done attaching, so you flip the main fabric out also, you attach lining to lining and also lining to lining. So go ahead, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Done with one side. Also attach the second side. We are done attaching it. So the next thing now is for you to attach this lining also to the lining of the lower part. You attach lining to lining also. Okay, so the next thing now is for me to attach my zipper. I'm just going to loosen a little bit of the lining here. I'll lose it, and also here, can you see I'll lose it so that my zip can be neatly fixed. So I'm going to loosen the lining a little bit away from the zip allowance here so that I can be able to fix my zip so that my zipper can enter in here properly. So I'll just loosen here a little bit. Okay, so I've loosened it a bit. So the next thing you have to do now is to fix your zipper. So you're going to be fixing your zipper only on the main fabric. So flip the lining away. Flip my lining away. You see I've loosened the lining away from the body here. So I'll go ahead using my 1.5 zip allowance. I'm going to attach my zip to only the Ankara fabric. Only to the Ankara part, not the lining. We're going to be using the lining to cover the whole thing and make it very neat. Okay, so I'll go ahead, I'll fix my zipper, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to be fixing my zipper right side to right side. Okay, following your zip allowance. Done fixing the zipper. Can you see? You can turn it back to this side. So the next thing now is to turn it with lining. So place the lining on top of it like this. Like this. So you drag up the lining to match up with the hemline. First off, you sew the hemline with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then when you are done, you close this side all the way. You leave a little space here before you finish, like about 3 inches. Then you continue stitching all the way down. So you see the way I'm going to do it. Then you stitch together at the hemline with 1/2 inch allowance. From this underarm, you're going to stitch it all the way down, leaving a little space which you'll be able to use to turn it out to the right side later on, and you close it together with 1/2 inch allowance. So before you get to the hemline, you back stitch. You leave about 3 inches space or 4, which you're going to be using to turn it to the right side again later on. Then you back stitch again, and you stitch all the way down to the hemline. You notice that the lining will drag up the main fabric upward. Okay, so I'm done. All right, so the next thing now is for you to push this whole side, the other side, everything together with the lining, everything, you push it inside this part this way. So it's going to be in between the lining and the main fabric of this side that you are still working on. Like this. Then you can turn it upside down so that you can be able to see it. So I've turned it upside down. So you take back to the sewing machine. This little opening, this little space that you open at the upper part, sew it close. Then from your zipper side, you will see the previous seam allowance that you use. You see the previous seam that you use in joining the zip to it before. So just follow that same line and stitch it all the way down to the hemline. Okay, I'm done stitching it together. So the next thing now is to dip your hand inside the little opening that you left here and bring everything out to the good side. So one side is ready. Next is to work on this side. So the same way, you flip the lining over on top of it like this. Then you stitch the lining together with the hemline of the main fabric. Like this. First you stitch the hemline together. I'll go ahead, I'll do that. So I'm done stitching it together at the hemline. This side seam, this is the side seam. You're also starting from the underarm here. You stitch the side seam together with 1/2 inch all the way down, but before you get to the hemline, you leave a little opening which you'll be using to turn it to the good side later on, just the same way you did here. I'll go ahead, I'll do that. I'm done stitching the side seam. So the next thing now is to lift this lining up, and then this whole side that you are done making before, so just push it in between the lining of the side you're working on. Push it in between the lining and the main fabric like this. Can you see? Push everything inside very well, like this. Then this place that you loosened before, you stitch it close. Then follow your zip allowance all the way, you stitch to the hemline. Or you can just turn it the way we turn it when we're working with the other side. So just turn it so that you can follow your previous line that you use in attaching your zipper. You will see it right there. So just follow it. First you stitch here, and then you follow that same line that you have there all the way down to the hemline of the dress. Okay, so I'm done. So the next thing now is to dip your hand inside the little opening that you left here and bring everything out to the good side. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to press it very well. So this is the slit. So that will be the end of the tutorial for today. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please kindly subscribe and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.